with the planer on?
It's a shooting board. This is for trimming ends. And you can get, if you got a piece that's just a little bit too long, or it's not exactly square, with a shooting board, you set your plane irons. You're taking a very thin shaving. Then you set your plane up against the stop here and against the side, and so you press your piece up against the sole of the plane, and it only sticks out beyond the stop block by the projection of your blade. So it is very small. Than the router. So with what I've done here, I still haven't got down past this was a rough cut end, and I'm still not down to a smooth surface yet. So you're not taking off but a couple thousandths at a time. For reference, a piece of a dollar bill is about 4 thousandths. So I'm taking off less than the thickness of a dollar bill with each stroke. And it's for fine tuning joints. And you make another one for miters or for picture frames, or to cut 45s. To do this, your plane has to be very sharp.
You called that a what slide?
Shooting board.
Shooting board. Jim, a lot of times what you'll see on those is there's also a block of wood with a piece of sandpaper on it. Some people will use that for a shooting board.
Yes, you could do that.
I tried to make picture frames, but I never could make them, line up.
Well, you have to either buy one or make one. Let's try to mess up some box joints. Okay, I put on a box joint blade set. This is a standard Freud 2-blade. The teeth are offset on the 2 blades, so you put them together one way, and it cuts a 1/4 inch gap. Turn them the other way, and it cuts 3/8 inch gap. That's the only 2 size fingers this will cut, but that suits my needs. You can use a regular stacked dado set, and then you can I don't know how many blades are in a dado set. There's 6 or 8. So you can make it you can increase the width in 1/16 of an inch increments up to 3/4 of an inch wide with a dado set. But like I say, for what I do, this suits my needs. And these runners on this sled are sized. I have an outfeed table in front of my saw, so these runners will go up and hit the outfeed table, and I can't push the jig all the way through the blade, so I won't cut my fingers on the backside. These are both mistakes in the shop, things that didn't work out. This is a glue-up problem. This, if you look at it, this is not square. This, you can tell it by looking at it. And I was trying to get the joints to fit while it was gluing up, and then I put more pressure on one side than the other side, and it pulled the joints apart on the other side, and the box ended up not squares. I have a lot of trouble with glue up, so this is something you need to watch. Traditionally, box joints, this is easier to see. Box joints are like this. They're evenly spaced. They're the same size. They're the same number of tails and pins. Those beads of courage boxes over there, like this, I saw a box like this somewhere on the internet, and I wanted the contrasting wood and the gap in the middle interested me, so I was trying to replicate that. This is one of my practice efforts, and I did great up until there's kind of a problem here between here and here. You cut this one, you start at one side, and you cut 3 pins, then you got to move to the other side and cut 3 pins. When you do that, you enter all kinds of difficulties in getting the joints to fit. Typical box joints, you're looking for a clearance or a gap of about 4 thousandths between the joints. Then and that will be like this one. They fit together. This may actually be a little bit more than 4 thousandths. These are pretty loose. But they fit together easily, and you don't have problems in assembly. If you have this clearance, 4 thousandths clearance, coming up this side, then you go to the other side, then they offset each other, and it doesn't fit. So tolerances on this and this are much tighter than on this one. But I finally got these to fit, so I cut this after that one. And I think this is my 4th or 5th to get to this point. Another thing, I think you can see it. The pins stick out, the pins are proud. You want them to be something less than a 1/16, about a 1/16 or less. You want them to stick out when you assemble it, so you can plane or sand those off. If they're recessed, then you have to sand down the entire side of the box to get them to fit. So you want to make sure that they are a little bit, your pins are a little bit longer than your thickness of your material. And by the way, this does not have any glue on it. And I don't think it'll ever come apart. Questions? Comments?
Again, it looks like we finished that one on the inside first.
Yes, I finished this one on the inside. And just like this one, this is for when this doesn't work.
You said something about splines.
Splines. I'll put splines in this one. Splines are with just a miter joint. You got a little bit of glue on end grain to hold it together, and that's not, glue holds much better on long grain than it does end grain. So a spline reinforces the joint, and it just will cut a piece of wood, a couple pieces of wood that'll go across the joint. So we'll be gluing long grain to long grain across the joint, and it's just for strength and also for decoration. Probably can't see that. Anyway, this is how I use triangles. This side is up. That's how I mark. And this is the outside of this piece, and this is the top of this piece. So in cutting box joints, you have to keep all your pieces oriented the same direction. And you can start, you cut them in the ends of the piece. You can cut them with the outside showing, or you can cut them with the inside showing. It doesn't matter, but after your first cut, everything else has to be the same. Make sure you keep the sawdust out of the corners of your jig. Just one little piece of sawdust will throw off the joint. I cut them, you can cut them one piece at a time, or you can cut both the two like ends, the sides or the ends. You cut those at the same time. I usually do that together. I usually clamp the first cut because there's nothing to hold it to orientation. And then you check, your pieces are identical size, so check the gaps. Are they together, and can you get your fingernail underneath the corner? Pay attention to that. because I've had that problem several times.
We've got low problems, huh?
Yeah. Which would not, which you could cut it all that way and just had more to cut off. The problem with that, you end up with your, I don't know what this piece is called, anyway, your gauge piece, the gap here, well, it doesn't show up. But anyway, to get zero clearance,
There you go.
okay. You can see it's on the other side of my my gauge gauge. This gap, this is the height that I cut last time. If I use something with a box with sides thicker, much thicker than last time, then this is going to be taller. Then if I go back thinner, I don't have zero clearance anymore, and I have to make a new one, or I have to move this over and set it up again.
Or use a sacrificial piece.
Or use a sacrificial piece. Like that. Obviously I do that. I don't like to do that because that to me, it seems to enter another opportunity for error, yeah. But along that line, it's better to do this than to cut it without a zero clearance piece behind it, because you will always get tear out with these blades. Okay, I just went, made the cut and stepped it over each time. Now I need to do the same thing for the other end, for the other end of these pieces. I can do that now, or I can start on the long side. You can see that the dimension of the side is not an even number of the pins or tails, either one. That really doesn't make any difference. We can cut that off. You need to end up with the same number full pins and full tails. So we can cut this off on a table saw later. You can make it whatever size you want, or you can spend the time before you start and get the dimension correct. I've done it both ways. There you can see I have done exactly.
As I say, don't, not as I do, right?
That this last time I used this sled, the sides were a little bit thicker, so you see I'm getting a little bit of tear out on the top edges, and that's what. So I can go back, I can raise this and make them longer. It's probably 32nd of an inch or so to take care of that, but I'm gonna go ahead. I can fix that. So to cut, we took these and stepped them all the way across our gauge pin. Now to cut this is the ends of the box. To cut the sides of the box, we leave these in and we start we put the long sides up against the sides up against the ends, so that the partial tail we cut in the last box is going to be the rest of that tail is going to start this one, and then we'll take the ends away and we'll continue the sides across. And that's how you get the sides and the ends to fit, with the pins to fit. Turn them. Oh, they won't fit. I gotta cut the other ends to get them to fit. Okay.
Looks so simple.
They're a little bit loose. Arm. Joints fit. It's a little bit loose.
So what do you do if the joints are a little loose? Is there a cure for that? Or is it glue? Or
If they're not too bad, glue, yes. When you're setting your jig up, you can see, maybe you can see, this is a separate piece from my sled. And this piece here has I cut a block, or I cut a piece 3/8 of an inch square. So because that's the size of the finger joints I wanted to make. And you set that up, you set it up 3/8 of an inch from the edge of your blade, as close as you can get it. And then you make some test cuts. And if it's too loose, you move toward the blade, so you want to cut down on the tails, on your gap. And you only move it like, the thickness of a dollar bill or something like that at a time. And then you clamp it back together and you make some test cuts. And it's an iterative process, and you'll get it dialed in that way. But this is all wood and it moves, so I get this thing dialed in, then I can use it, and I'm gonna make a couple boxes, and then I set it aside for weeks or a month, and I get it back out, and then I gotta adjust it again. Now, if you buy something, but you probably don't have to go through that readjustment process. I don't know. I've never used a store-bought finger joint jig.
What's that one called, Jim, that you have?
Micro jig, I think.
They- That's supposed to be good. They're very proud of it.
Yeah, I'm sitting out here.
But it's just, figure out how it works, and it might hold it might hold the adjustments you make to it.
It works a lot better.
So,
You can set it up on the rounder table or set it up on the table saw. It
Mhm.
works a lot better on the table saw.
Here, this is, let me just show you this right quick and I'll quit. No, we're gonna quit. So we're gonna quit now.
got that upside down.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, come on. On this box,
We'll have one of those other kind of tops.
no, I don't have, yeah, I'll put one of those on them, but I made the bottom, the bottom is about a 1/2 inch thick, so that it sets up.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's just,
that highlights the whole box.
I thought, yeah,
Pedestal,
Yeah.
nice.
it's just something else you can do, and it doesn't. And all it is can you get the top? See, the bottom is just captured in a dado in the sides. So it's floating, and it doesn't, you don't have to glue it or anything.
It's a nice detail.
Well, I'll quit. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them or confuse you further or whatever.